about what happens in them by way of the activities that are carried in there and the need for the reforms, of course, which have always underlined the need to rehabilitate people, reform them, and also give them opportunities of being better citizens. The report we started off with on this program, our background report, highlighted an inmate who had taken advantage of the facilities provided in the custodial center to improve on his educational background, and some have had to learn other forms of trade. So let's come to that, and then we'll return later to the matter of the facilities.
Okay, so the question is the assessment about the rehabilitation package. I think it's important to state that every custodial center in Nigeria have some level of activity that is meant to run in those facilities. So many of them will have vocational workshops. Unfortunately, many of those vocational workshops are either having equipment that are dated or for some reasons are not running well. Then you have also the programs that the Open University is having in many of the centers that now enable some of the inmates to be able to register, do exams, and get into university program. Though we also have instances of inmates seeking, not having enough funds to register WAEC and all that. So it's a lot of times you'll hear the officers complaining or requesting for support to be able to do so. So we do have that. The Nigerian Correctional Service Act of 2019 also has a provision which is different from what used to be. Before the 2019 law of the Correctional Service, every resources or profit that is generated from vocational workshops or farm centers are completely sent to the Central Consolidated Fund. And what that means is that if the custodial center requires any support, maybe your machine for sewing breaks down, you have to wait for Abuja to send, and that's not a model to run a business. However, the 2019 law changed that. It then provided the division of these resources into three, having one portion of that money to keep the resources, to keep that enterprise, one portion to send back to the federal government, and then a portion to be used for the rehabilitation of the inmates. But the truth is that that's not been implemented. I'm not aware of anywhere that is currently happening. So we need to make sure, again, as you keep hearing me say, that the very good provisions of the 2019 Act needs to be implemented. So that's about rehabilitation. But if you look at Section 10 of the law, of the 2019 law, it said so many good things, including things about risk and needs assessment. So right from the way when somebody comes into custody, that there is a risk and needs assessment. They have what they call reception board in custodial center that is multidisciplinary and meant to assess an inmate within 24 hours the person comes in there to know the facility to send the person and all the rest. But you remember, if you are struggling with space, then your guess is as good as mine whether you will really know where to send that person. So it is important to do rehabilitation. It is important to also focus on the elements of reintegration. Reintegration talks about how what you do to ensure that when the person goes out, is able to fully adjust while in the community. But it requires a comprehensive approach, and that's what's lacking. So, and it is not all the inmates. So many times you go to workshops, vocational workshops or school, and you see that there's not enough population of inmates in there. The reason is that there's not enough incentive. So we need to build incentives around this reformation, rehabilitation, and reintegration of programs. And those incentives are such, like I said, about the funds that are supposed to go to the inmate to encourage them to keep coming there. So that needs to happen. The psychological component needs to also be fully integrated and made to function properly. So again, there are prospects, but there's still a lot that requires to be done. So I think that once we do those things, it becomes helpful. But if you are also looking at the volume of work that the staff is faced with, because if a staff is overworked and is not having enough shifts, Now you are talking about giving due time and opportunity for them to do proper case management and for every inmate. You know it's not going to happen. So again, we need to see how we bring the balance to this issue. And I think fundamentally, and you had earlier on made the point, fundamentally, let the facility be there for those who deserve to be there. The problem with us as a country is that, and I will use this word here, is the obsession. There is obsession with custodial sentences by the court. There is obsession with detention by many, including, ordinary citizens. You just want to keep the person. Even when somebody has a bail, they're wondering, why did you let the person out? So again, as a people, we must understand that imprisonment is harmful, generally. Not only because of the issue of cost, because there is a lot of cost on the government. If only you can do the mathematics and see the humongous amount the government spends on food. No matter, even with the current amounts, it is a lot. That resources can go better into doing things for the youth out in the community, the investment in education, investment in health, investment in even activities in the as the non-custodial measure. You mentioned that there is provision in the law, that 2019 law. The whole of Section 37 sub 1 down is all about non-custodial measures. But yet there's no funding for the effective implementation of non-custodial measures. If you don't appropriate funding there, then how can it be done well?